You should go home. Daniel's voice was rough from the breathing tube they'd removed an hour ago. Get some rest. I can't. She didn't look at him. The police want a statement. The lawyers are circling. And Marcus is going to prison for a very long time. He was my friend. He was a thief who held you at gunpoint. Sophia finally met his eyes. The morphine made them hazy, but the pain in them wasn't from the bullet wound. You lied to me too, Daniel. About the patents. About why you wanted my company. I know. That's it. Just, I know. He tried to sit up, winced, fell back against the pillows. What do you want me to say, Sophia? That I'm sorry? I am? That I never meant to hurt you? I didn't. That I fell in love with you, and it destroyed every plan I had? That's the truest thing I've ever said. The patent claim. Is it real? Daniel closed his eyes. Yes, my legal team could tear Innovate Solutions apart in court. The core algorithm you built everything on, we can prove it originated from our research. We have emails, lab notes, timestamps. So you could take everything from me. Yes, but you offered me $50 million instead. Why? Because I love you. His voice cracked. Yes. Watching you build something beautiful mattered more than being right, because the thought of destroying what you created made me physically ill. Sophia stood, walked to the window. The city sprawled below, indifferent to her breaking heart. I spoke to my lawyers while you were in surgery, she said quietly. They confirmed everything. If Kingston Technologies pushes the patent claim, I lose everything. The company. The technology. Years of my life. I'm not going to push it. Your board will. Your investors will. The moment they find out about Marcus, about the kidnapping, about the shooting, they'll see weakness. They'll demand you protect the company's interests. I don't care what they demand. She turned to face him. You should, because I've made a decision. Something in her tone made him try to sit up again, ignoring the pain. Sophia, I'm signing over Innovate Solutions to Kingston Technologies completely. No conditions, no CEO position, no creative control. You get everything? No. The heart monitor started beeping faster. No, Sophia, I won't let you. It's not your choice. Her voice was steady, despite the tears on her face. My lawyers drew up the papers. I sign tomorrow morning. Get the company, the patents, everything. Clean, legal, done. Why would you do this? Because I can't spend the next 5 years in court fighting you. Because Marcus was right about one thing. I'm exhausted, broken. And I can't keep building something knowing it might all be stolen from someone else's foundation. This is insane. This is survival. She moved to the bed, took his hand. And there's more. Die. There's a research position in Singapore. They've been trying to recruit me for months. I accepted it an hour ago. The beeping became frantic. You're running away. I'm starting over. Sophia, please. His grip on her hand was desperate. Don't do this. We can figure it out. Together. We can? There is no together, Daniel. Her voice broke. There never was. Just two people playing at something impossible while the world burned around us. She leaned down, pressed her lips to his forehead. He tasted like salt and sorrow. Goodbye, Daniel Kingston. Sophia waited, but she was already walking toward the door, leaving behind the man who had broken her heart while trying to save it in the hallway. She collapsed against the wall, letting the tears finally come. Her phone buzzed. An email from Kingston Technologies' legal team. They'd found something that changed everything. Her hands shook as she opened it. The rain hammered against the hospital windows like accusations. Sophia stood frozen in the hallway, staring at the email on her phone. The attachment was a scanned document. 20 pages of legal paperwork dated 7 years ago. A patent. Transfer agreement. Her hands shook as she read. Daniel. Kingston had transferred all rights to the algorithm research to a scholarship fund. A fund that specifically supported young entrepreneurs from underprivileged backgrounds. A fund that had partially financed her graduate school tuition. He'd given away the patents years before she'd even started her company. The hospital room door opened. Daniel stood there clutching his shoulder, his hospital gown stained with fresh blood from tearing his stitches. You shouldn't be up, she breathed. You shouldn't be leaving. They stared at each other across the fluorescent-lit hallway. Sophia held up her phone. You gave away the patents. 7 years ago, you had no legal claim to my company? No. Then, why? Why make me think you could take everything? Why let me believe because I'm an idiot? He leaned against the doorframe, breathing hard. Because when I found out your technology came from research I'd funded, I convinced myself it was fate. Destiny. Some cosmic joke. I told myself I was protecting you by offering to buy the company, that I was being noble, but you weren't protecting me. No, his voice broke. I was protecting myself. From the terrifying reality that I'd fallen in love with someone I couldn't control or manipulate or buy. Someone who was brilliant and fierce and didn't need me at all. Sophia took a step toward him. You were shot because of me. I'd be shot 100 times if it meant keeping you safe. You lied to me. I did. Made me fall in love with you while pretending to be my enemy. I know. And now I've signed over my company to you for nothing. Given up everything I built because I thought I was protecting myself from you. Daniel's laugh was bitter. The papers you signed, I had my lawyers reject them an hour ago. Innovate Solutions is still yours. Completely, I want no part of it. Thunder rolled across the city. Sophia was close enough now to see the tears on his face mixing with sweat from the pain of standing. So where does that leave us? She whispered. Broken, honest, terrified. He reached out with his good arm, fingers brushing her cheek. And maybe, if you can forgive me, ready to start over. No lies this time, no games. It's two people who are apparently terrible at staying away from each other. I accepted the job in Singapore. Then I'll move to Singapore. I can't run a Fortune 500 company from Singapore. Watch me. His smile was broken and beautiful and real. Don't. Tell me to leave. Tell me you hate me. Tell me anything except goodbye. Sophia looked into those impossible blue eyes that had haunted her for months. She thought about trust and betrayal, about the walls she'd built and the man who'd somehow found his way through every single one. I don't hate you, she said quietly. That's a start. I'm furious with you. That's fair. And hurt and confused and so tired of being strong all the time. Then don't be. He pulled her closer, wincing at the pain it caused. Be weak. Be angry. Be whatever you need to be. I'm not going anywhere. She pressed her forehead against his chest, feeling his heart hammering beneath her skin. The Singapore job starts in 2 weeks. Then we have 2 weeks to figure this out. That's not enough time. Then we'll take more. We'll take forever if that's what it takes. Sophia looked up at him. Promise me something. Anything. Promise me no more secrets. No more games. If we do this, if we try this, it's real. Completely real. Daniel's hand cupped her face, his thumb brushing away tears she hadn't realized were falling. I promise. Cross my heart and hope too. She kissed him before he could finish, tasting rain and blood in something that felt terrifyingly close to home. His good arm wrapped around her waist, holding her like she was the only solid thing in a spinning world. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Daniel smiled. So, Singapore. Singapore, she agreed. Together? Sophia thought about her empty apartment. Her destroyed company that wasn't destroyed after all. The man who had been her enemy and her salvation and her complete undoing. Together, she whispered. Outside, the rain began to slow. The city lights reflected in puddles like scattered stars. And in a hospital hallway that smelled like antiseptic and new beginnings, 2 broken people held on to each other and decided that maybe, just maybe, they could learn to be whole. 6 months later, Sophia stood on a balcony in Singapore, watching. The sunset paint the sky in shades of gold and crimson. Behind her, she heard Daniel's footsteps, felt his arms wrap around her waist. How was the board meeting? She asked. Terrible. They hate that I'm running the company remotely. They'll adjust. He pressed a kiss to her neck. How was your research presentation? Brilliant. They want to triple my funding. Of course they do. You're brilliant. She turned in his arms, studying the face that had become as familiar as her own heartbeat. The scars they'd given each other were still there. Probably always would be. But they were healing. Together. I love you, she said. I love you too. Daniel's smile was warm and real and completely his. even though you're impossible. Especially because I'm impossible. Especially because of that. They stood together. As the sun disappeared below the horizon, two people who had found each other in the wreckage and decided to build something beautiful from the broken pieces. It wasn't perfect, wasn't easy, but it was real, and real was enough. The end. I need to know something, Alina said. Why are you really doing this? The clinic. Offering me the position. All of it. Julian was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was rough with something that sounded like old pain. 5 years ago, my sister died. Overdose. She'd been struggling with addiction, living on the streets of South Harbor. She went to 3 different emergency rooms in her final week. All of them turned her away because she couldn't pay, because she looked like someone not worth saving. Alina's breath caught. I was saving lives in pristine operating rooms while my own sister died alone in an alley because the system failed her. Because I failed her. He looked at Alina, and his eyes were raw. So I'm building something different. A place where no one gets turned away. Where the broken and the forgotten get the same care as the wealthy. And you want me because I'm broken too, Alina said softly. I want you because you're broken and still fighting. That's the difference. Stepped closer. I saw the way you cared for that patient, even while you were falling apart. That's not something I can teach. You either have it, or you don't. The space between them felt charged, electric. I'm scared, Alina admitted. Good fear means you care. It's apathy that kills. She took a breath. Okay, I'll do it. Something shifted in Julian's expression. Relief. And something else. Something deeper that made her heart stutter. Tomorrow then, 8 a.m., I'll show you the clinic. He handed her a key. This is yours. Full access. You're not just an employee, Alina. You're a partner in this. As he turned to go back inside, Alina called out, Julian. He paused. Thank you. For seeing me when no one else did. He looked back at her, and in the harsh light from the entrance, she could see every line of exhaustion and determination on his face. Don't thank me yet, he said quietly. This work, it'll break you in ways you can't imagine. But maybe, if we're lucky, it'll also put us back together. Then he was gone. And Alina was left standing in the darkness. Holding a key that felt like both a promise and a warning, she had no idea that in 48 hours, everything she thought she knew about Julian Pierce would be shattered. The South Harbor clinic smelled like disinfectant and desperation. Alina had been working there for 6 weeks, and every day felt like diving into deep water without knowing how far down the bottom was. But Julian had been right. She was learning more here in 6 weeks than most residents learned in a year. Tonight, the clinic was quiet. Most of the staff had gone home. Alina sat in the small office she shared with Julian, reviewing patient files. The door was open, and she could hear voices drifting from the conference room down the hall. Julian's voice. And another, female and sharp. Can't keep doing this, Julian. The board is asking questions. Alina froze. She recognized that voice. Victoria Pierce. Julian's ex-wife. CEO of Pierce Pharmaceuticals. The board doesn't dictate how I spend my money. Your money. That's rich. Victoria's laugh was bitter. Half of everything you have should have been mine. But you hid assets during the divorce. Don't think I've forgotten. Alina knew she should leave, should give them privacy. But something in Victoria's tone kept her rooted in place. This clinic is draining millions from the family foundation, Victoria continued. Money that was supposed to fund research. Real medicine. Not charity for junkies and criminals, as people deserve care. These people are a tax write-off. And we both know the real reason you're here. Pause. It's not about your sister. It's about your guilt. You think if you save enough broken people, you'll finally forgive yourself for letting her die. The silence that followed was devastating. Get out, Julian said, his voice like ice. I'm not done. I know about her. Your new little protege. Alina Carter. Tell me, does she know the truth about why you really chose her? Alina's blood went cold. Victoria, don't. You didn't pick her because she's talented? You picked her because she's damaged, controllable, easy to manipulate. Just like your sister was? Victoria's heels clicked on the floor, moving closer to the door. You couldn't save Sarah, so you found someone who reminds you of her. Someone you can rescue. Someone who'll be grateful enough to never question you. It's not true, isn't it? You saw a broken girl having a panic attack and saw an opportunity. A project. Someone you could mold into your perfect vision of redemption. Lena stood, her legs shaking. She should leave now before they realized she'd heard everything. But her body wouldn't move. I chose Alina because she has genuine compassion and exceptional skill, Julian said. But there was something in his voice now. Uncertainty. You chose Alina because she was vulnerable, Victoria countered. And because the board was questioning your judgment after the Henderson incident, you needed someone who'd make you look good. A charity case who'd prove you're still the benevolent genius everyone thinks you are. The Henderson incident was a complication. It wasn't my fault. You operated while impaired. Everyone knows it. But you're Julian Pierce, so it got swept under the rug, just like everything else. Victoria's voice dropped to something almost pitying. How long until you fail her too? How long until your savior complex gets someone else killed? Alina backed away from the door, her vision blurring. Her hands found the wall behind her, steadying herself. This couldn't be true. Julian had seen her, had understood her, had given her a chance when no one else would, but Victoria's words had the ring of truth. Sharp and cutting. She heard footsteps. Victoria emerged from the conference room, and her eyes landed on Alina immediately. A slow, satisfied smile spread across her perfectly painted lips. Alina Carter. How lovely to finally meet you properly. Victoria's gaze raked over her. Tell me, has Julian shared his plans for you yet? Or are you still under the impression that this is about your career? Victoria, enough. Julian appeared behind her, his face pale. She deserves to know the truth. Victoria turned back to Alina. He's writing a book. About his redemption arc. His journey from tragedy to triumph. And you, my dear, are the final chapter. The broken student he saved. The perfect ending to his story. Alina's world tilted. Julian. He looked at her, and the guilt in his eyes told her everything. Alina, I can explain. Is it true? Is there a book? His silence was answer enough. Started his therapy, he finally said. My psychiatrist suggested I write about Sarah. About the guilt. And yes, it became something more. But you're not just a chapter. You're not just a story, but I am in the book. Her voice sounded distant to her own ears. My panic attack. The examination. All of it. I haven't used your real name. I changed details, but it's me. She laughed, and it came out broken. You said you saw yourself in me. That you understood. But really, you just saw good material. That's not fair. Fair? The word exploded out of her. You made me think I mattered, that someone finally understood, but I was just research. Just another broken thing for you to study and fix and write about. Victoria watched them with obvious satisfaction. My work here is done. She brushed past Alina. Welcome to the Julian Pierce experience, sweetheart. Everyone's a character in his grand narrative. She left her perfume lingering like poison in the air. Alina and Julian stood facing each other across the small office. The distance between them felt infinite. I never meant to hurt you, Julian said. But you knew it would. That's why you didn't tell me. I was going to. I just needed the right time. There's never a right time for betrayal. Alina grabbed her bag. I'm done. With this clinic. With you. With being someone's redemption project. Lena, please. Don't throw away everything we've built. We didn't build anything. You've built a narrative. And I was stupid enough to believe I was part of it. She moved toward the door, then stopped. You know what the worst part is? I trusted you. I thought you were different. But you're just like everyone else who's ever looked at me and seen a problem to solve instead of a person. That's not true. I see you, Alina. I see exactly who you are. No, she looked back at him, and her eyes were burning. You see who you needed me to be. There's a difference. She walked out into the night, leaving Julian standing alone in the empty clinic. The key he'd given her, the one that meant she was a partner, felt like a weight in her pocket. Behind her, she heard glass shatter, a roar of anguish that sounded like something dying. But she didn't turn back. She couldn't, because if she did, she might forgive him. And some betrayals, no matter how much they came from pain, couldn't be forgiven. Not yet. Maybe not ever. 2 weeks. Alina had been gone for 2 weeks, okay? And Julian felt like he was drowning in slow motion. The clinic was falling apart without her. Not operationally, there were other doctors who could do the work. But the heart of it, the thing that had made it special, was gone. She'd taken it with her when she left. He sat in his penthouse apartment, surrounded by the manuscript pages scattered across his desk. The book, the damned book that had cost him everything that mattered. His phone rang. Unknown number. He almost didn't answer. Dr. Pierce. A young voice, scared. This is Marcus. From the clinic. Something's wrong with Dr. Carter. Julian's blood turned to ice. What happened? She's been working at Mercy General. Night shifts in the ER, but tonight there was an incident. A patient, he was high, freaking out. He had a knife. She tried to calm him down, and he grabbed her. Cut her arm pretty bad. But that's not the worst part. What's the worst part? She didn't report it. She just bandaged herself up and kept working. I only know because I saw blood on her coat. Dr. Pierce, she's not okay. She's not sleeping. Barely eating. She's working herself into the ground. After Marcus hung up, Julian sat frozen. He'd done this. His selfishness, his need to process his own trauma by writing about it, had broken the one person who'd started to put him back together. He grabbed his keys. Mercy. General's emergency room was chaos when he arrived. A Saturday night, which meant overdoses and knife wounds and the full spectrum of human suffering. He found her in Bay 6, stitching up a patient with steady hands. Despite the fresh bandage on her own forearm, she looked up, and her eyes went flat when she saw him. Don't, she said. Lena, you're hurt. I'm fine. You're not fine. Let me look at your arm. You don't get to do that anymore. You don't get to care. The patient between them, an older man with a gash on his forehead, watched with interest. Doc, you should let him help, the patient said. Pride's gonna kill you faster than any blade. Alina's jaw tightened, but she stepped back and held out her arm. Julian unwrapped the bandage with gentle hands. The cut was deep, poorly sutured by someone who couldn't see properly while doing it to themselves. This needs to be redone, he said quietly. Then do it and leave. He worked in silence, removing her stitches and placing new ones with the precision of someone who'd performed thousands of surgeries. But his hands were shaking. I burned it, he said suddenly. She looked up. What? The manuscript? All of it. Every page. Every backup file. Every note. He finished the final stitch. I burned it all 2 days after you left. Why? Because you were right. I was using you. Not intentionally, but that doesn't matter. Impact matters more than intent. He met her eyes. I was so focused on processing my own pain that I didn't see I was creating yours. Alina pulled her arm back. Burning papers doesn't undo what you did. I know. But I needed you to know that you're not a story to me. You never were. I just didn't realize it until I'd already lost you. You can't lose something you never really had. The words hit him like a physical blow. Before he could respond, alarms started blaring. Trauma incoming. Mass casualty incident. Building collapse in South Harbor. The radio crackled. Multiple victims. Critical. All available personnel report immediately. Alina's face went pale. That's near the clinic. They moved together without speaking, falling into the rhythm of emergency response. The next 3 hours were a blur of blood and broken bodies and the desperate fight to save lives that hung by threads. Alina was everywhere. Tireless. Brilliant. Julian watched her and understood what he'd known from the beginning, but hadn't been able to articulate. She wasn't broken. She was forged at 3 a.m. During a brief lull. She found him in the supply closet. He was restocking, his scrubs stained dark with someone else's blood. We got everyone stabilized, she said. Right. Because of you. You saved at least 3 people tonight who wouldn't have made it without your calls. She leaned against the doorframe, exhaustion written in every line of her body. Julian, I need to tell you something. He waited. I'm leaving. I got accepted to a residency program in Seattle. Pediatric surgery. It's what I've always wanted. The words hit him harder than he expected. When? 2 weeks? That's fast. I need distance. From this city, from the memories. From you? She paused. I can't heal here. He understood. Of course he did. But understanding didn't make it hurt less. There's something you need to know before you go, he said. The clinic, it's in trouble. Victoria's convinced the board to pull funding. They're shutting us down next month. Alina's eyes widened. What? She's using my book against me, claiming it's proof I'm unstable, that I'm using patients for personal gain. She's not wrong about the second part. He laughed bitterly. All those people we've been helping, they'll have nowhere to go. You can't let that happen. I don't have a choice. Victoria controls the board. She's been planning this since the divorce. Alina was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was different, harder. What if you had proof that Victoria's been embezzling from the foundation? Julian stared at her. What are you talking about? When I was working at the clinic, I noticed discrepancies in the financial reports. Money that was supposed to go to patient care, but disappeared into phantom accounts. I didn't think much of it at first, but after Victoria showed up, I started digging. She pulled out her phone, scrolled through files. I found everything. Shell companies. Offshore transfers. She's been stealing from the foundation for years. Alina, if you expose this, Victoria will come after you. She has lawyers. Resources. She'll destroy you. Maybe. But those people at the clinic, they need it. You built something real there, Julian. Something that matters. I won't let her take it away just because you and I couldn't figure out how to be honest with each other. You'd give up your fresh start for this? For me? Not for you? Eyes were fierce. For them? For every person who walks through those doors because they have nowhere else to go. That matters more than my pride. More than my pain. Julian felt something crack open in his chest. If you do this, Seattle might rescind their offer. Whistleblowers don't exactly scream stability. Then I'll find another program. Another city. She stepped closer. But I won't run away knowing I could have saved something worth saving. You're giving up everything. No, I'm choosing what matters. She handed him her phone. Take this to your lawyers tonight, before Victoria realizes what we know. Julian took the phone, their fingers brushing. The contact sent electricity up his arm. I don't deserve this, he said hoarsely. I don't deserve you. You're right. You don't. But those patients do. She turned to leave, then paused. For what it's worth, I understand why you wrote it. The book. We all process trauma differently. I just wish you'd trusted me enough to tell me. I was afraid. Of losing you. Of being seen as the monster I sometimes think I am. You're not a monster, Julian. You're just human. Flawed and trying. Like the rest of us. Then she was gone, disappearing back into the organized chaos of the ER. Julian stood alone in the supply closet, holding her phone like it was made of glass. She'd just sacrificed her future to save his work, to save the people he'd built the clinic for, and he realized with stunning clarity that he loved her. Not as a project, not as redemption, but as a person who'd somehow become essential to his existence. He pulled out his own phone and made a call. Tom, it's Julian Pierce. I need you to draw up papers. I'm transferring full ownership of the South Harbor Clinic to Alina Carter. Yes, tonight. No, she doesn't know yet. And Tom, I need you to set up a trust fund. Enough to cover her medical school loans and living expenses for 5 years. Anonymous. She can't know it's from me. When he hung up, his hands were steadier than they'd been in weeks. She was leaving. She was going to Seattle or somewhere else, somewhere far from him and the mess he'd made. But she'd be free, and the clinic would survive. That would have to be enough, even if it felt like his heart was being carved out with a dull blade. The South Harbor Clinic was standing room only. Alina stood at the back of the crowd, watching as Julian addressed the gathering. It had been 3 days since she'd given him the evidence against Victoria. 3 days since she'd sacrificed Seattle. The residency program had rescinded their offer that morning. Just as Julian had predicted, Victoria's lawyers had called them, warned them about the scandal, about the unstable whistleblower who'd fabricated evidence against a respected CEO, except the evidence wasn't fabricated. And Victoria's lawyers knew it. That's why they were working so hard to discredit Alina before the truth came out. "I'm grateful to all of you for coming," Julian said, his voice carrying across the packed room. Patients, staff, board members, even some reporters. "I called this meeting because I have announcements to make. Difficult ones." Alina's stomach twisted. This was it. The board was shutting them down. "First, I need to address the allegations against Victoria Pierce." Julian's eyes were steady, unflinching. "Thanks to evidence provided by Dr. Alina Carter, we've discovered that Victoria has been embezzling from the Pierce Foundation for over 5 years. She's stolen nearly $12 million that was meant for patient care." The room erupted. Cameras flashed. Julian held up his hand. "The authorities have been notified. Victoria is currently in custody. The stolen funds are being recovered and will be returned to the foundation." Paused. "But that brings me to my second announcement." The room went quiet. "I'm stepping down as director of this clinic." Alina's heart stopped. "This clinic was born from my guilt. My need to process trauma by helping others. Those aren't bad reasons, but they're not enough." Julian's gaze found Alina in the crowd. "I've learned that healing can't be built on one person's pain. It requires something bigger, something selfless." He held up papers. "These documents transfer full ownership and control of the South Harbor Clinic to Dr. Alina Carter, along with an endowment that will ensure it operates independently for at least 20 years. The room exploded again. Alina couldn't breathe. Dr. Carter has sacrificed her own career opportunities to protect this place. She's shown the kind of courage and integrity that I aspire to." Julian's voice roughened. "This clinic should be led by someone who puts patients first. Always. That person isn't me. It's her." Alina pushed through the crowd, her heart hammering. When she reached the front, Julian stepped down from the small platform. "What are you doing?" she demanded, pulling him aside. "Giving you what you've earned? I don't want to own the clinic. I want to practice medicine. I want to learn and grow and figure out who I am without someone's guilt or redemption hanging over me. I know. That's why I'm also setting up a new residency program here. Fully accredited. Focused on community medicine. You can direct it while completing your own training." He handed her the papers. "It's yours. No strings. No conditions. You can accept it or walk away. Either way, I'll respect your choice. Why are you doing this?" "Because I love you." The words hung between them, raw and terrifying. "You barely know me," Alina whispered. "I know that you're the strongest person I've ever met. I know that you fight for people, even when it costs you everything. I know that being around you makes me want to be better than I am." He stepped closer. "And I know that I have absolutely no right to love you after what I did.
But I do.
And I needed you to know that before you leave. I'm not leaving." Julian's eyes widened. Seattle rescinded their offer this morning. Victoria made sure of it. Alina laughed, and it came out watery. "So I guess I'm unemployed. Unless you're serious about this residency program. I've never been more serious about anything in my life, and I have conditions." She met his gaze. "No more secrets. No more using people's trauma for personal processing. We do this right, or we don't do it at all. Agreed. And you don't get to sacrifice yourself to make me feel better. You built this clinic. Your vision, your passion, I won't take that away from you, Alina. I'm trying to give you what you deserve. What I deserve is a partner, not a martyr. Not someone who thinks they need to destroy themselves to make amends." She grabbed his hand. "Stay. Work with me. Teach me what you know. Let me teach you what I know. Build something together that isn't about guilt or redemption, but about actually helping people." Julian looked at their joined hands. "You'd forgive me?" After everything? I'm not sure if forgiveness is the right word. You hurt me. That's real. But you're also human and flawed in trying? She squeezed his fingers. Maybe we're both too damaged to be anyone's fairy tale. But maybe that's okay. Maybe two broken people can build something stronger than either could alone. That's a terrible foundation for a relationship. Good thing we're not talking about a relationship. She smiled, and it felt like sunlight breaking through clouds. We're talking about a partnership, professional, with very clear boundaries. Very clear boundaries, Julian repeated. But there was something in his eyes that made her pulse quicken, although Alina said carefully, maybe in 6 months or a year. If we're both still standing, and the clinic is thriving, and we've proven we can work together without destroying each other, we could revisit the boundaries discussion. It's very practical of you. Dr. Carter, I'm a practical person. You gave up Seattle for a clinic in the worst part of the city. That's not practical. That's certifiably insane. Then maybe I'm learning from you. Julian laughed, and it was the first genuine laugh she'd heard from him. Free from the weight of guilt, from the shadow of his sister's death. Just a man laughing with a woman who'd somehow become his equal. So we're doing this? He asked. Building something real? We're doing this. But Julian. She stepped closer, close enough to see the gold flecks in his gray eyes. If you ever lie to me again, if you ever use me for your own processing without telling me first, I will destroy you. Professionally and personally. Are we clear? Crystal clear. Good. She released his hand and turned to face the crowd, which had been watching their entire exchange with rapt attention. Let's get to work then. We have patients waiting. As the room began to disperse, Julian caught her arm. Alina, thank you. For seeing past the monster. For giving me a chance to be better. You were never a monster. You were just hurt. She smiled. We both were. Maybe we still are. But at least now we're hurt together. 6 months later, the South Harbor Clinic was thriving. The new residency program had attracted 5 promising young doctors. Alina had successfully performed her first solo surgery under Julian's supervision. And Victoria Pierce was serving a 7-year sentence for embezzlement and fraud. On a quiet Tuesday evening, after the last patient had left, Alina found Julian in his office. He was reviewing charts. His reading glasses perched on his nose in a way that made him look both distinguished and slightly ridiculous. I think it's time we revisit that boundaries discussion, she said. He looked up, and the smile that spread across his face was worth every sacrifice. Every painful moment that had led them here. I thought you'd never ask. She crossed the room, and he stood to meet her. When their lips met, it felt like coming home, like finding something she hadn't known she'd been searching for. They were damaged. They were flawed. They carried scars that would never fully heal, but they were healing each other. One day at a time, one patient at a time, one honest conversation at a time. And maybe that was the real fairy tale. Not perfection, but the courage to be imperfect together. Outside, the city hummed with life. Inside the clinic, 2 people who'd been broken by the world stood together, building something beautiful from the shattered pieces. It wasn't redemption. It wasn't salvation. It was something better. It was real. The end.